Good afternoon. Glad you guys were back today. We're just going to kind of take a little drive through Northeast Conference history, just to kind of see where we came from and maybe kind of give some insight where we're going with our churches. I just kind of want to start off. Let me get the next slide. My tech guy back there. Hey, there we go. So the Church of God Abrahamic Faith, and this is probably going to be a bad thing for me to sit, because I'm very interested. So the Church of God Abrahamic Faith was started roughly, if you want to go on to the next one, roughly around the early 1800s. And there was a guy named R.V. Lyon out of Connecticut who pastored a very large church, and he found that his pulpit was too small to begin teaching the coming kingdom of Jesus Christ. And so he resigned. And so then he went around a lot of the eastern area and just started uniting groups together. So there might have been a group here in this little town and this little town, started uniting those groups together to form a congregation and to form a church. And so this was happening all throughout. So we had churches at one time in New York. We had some in Pennsylvania as well. And then he made his way to Indiana and Ohio. And so the first recorded working body was in 1828 in Old Union, Indiana. And in the historical waymarks of the Church of God, it says it was a pioneer town. And that reminds me of like Little House on the Prairie or something like that. So it was a pioneer town. And we had Church of God roots there. Move on to the next one. All right, so then Ohio State Conference came into existence on October 29th of 1857. When the state conference was first organized, they adopted this following resolution. It says that we should, when there are 3 or more believers in one place, organize ourselves in the name of Church of God, recognizing no other name for ourselves than Christians, and none other for the church but the Church of God. And I should have put this on there too, but I'm probably going to hurt some feelings, because this is what they also challenged us to do. And I don't know how often we do this, but it says that this is our duty as members of the church to give of the abundance which God has given us for the support of those who labor in word and doctrine among us, and we cannot, but at the loss of eternal life, see a minister or brother or sister in need of the necessities of life, and we not administer unto them. So it goes back to the Acts, where they met together daily and they were sharing, the breaking of bread, and they were sharing, of their household. So it goes back to that. And, how many of our churches do that, where we see someone in need and we're helping, we're right there to help. So we kind of need to get back to that. I also liked, and this is out of the Northeast Conference Church history. Let's see if I can find it here. I found this really cool with Brush Creek. It says they first hired a pastor was J.H. Anderson in 1912. Members decided they needed a resident pastor, but questioned if they could support one. Some felt the only way to find out was to ask each member how much they could give. Edna Brewer, you guys know the Brewers, right? Hey, Vicky's one of them. Edna Brewer went by horse and buggy to members' homes to seek pledges. Enough pledges and money were promised, and foodstuffs were gained, and they felt they could make an offer to a pastor. And it says Brother J.H. Anderson moved his wife and his family of 5 children into a small 3-bedroom house in Nashville. Another child was born to them later on while they were there. So Edna Brewer went door to door pretty much, soliciting money, getting from people, what they wanted to make sure that they could sort of support a pastor. And now we sit in a board meeting and you want to go 2%, 3%. Well, he's done this past year, and we got Dan and Kyle. I mean, you guys are not pastors here. We're pastors. Anyway, I'm on the board, and I've sat in a board meeting where it's like, okay, well, we really need to get the debt paid down. I don't know if we can give Dan a raise this year, but now he's got another mouth to feed. So you get to that point, and it's like, where does the money come from? But you're going to learn later tonight how Troyview has been successful. So so that's where we began. Ohio State Conference, October 29th, 1857. And that anytime we're together, we are to meet as a Church of God. All right, let's go on. So we're going to go into Northeast Conference. So kind of established in 1966. They decided that, and to call it that because of the fact that it wasn't just Ohio churches participating. Now we had churches in Canada as well. And so early 1850s, Cleveland, Norwalk, Elyria, Cincinnati.
Wow.
I didn't know that one. Springfield, Salem, Bedford, Akron, Oxford, and Brush Creek. And we still have Brush Creek in Springfield and kind of Cleveland, Bedford area. And then in the early 1900s to 1970s, we had Cleveland, Bedford, Columbia Station, Delta, Brush Creek, Pleasant Hill, Springfield, Hilliard, Troy, Dayton, and Lawrenceville. Later on, we had Urbana. And then, of course, then we added in Canada. I forgot to put that one on there. The church, the Fonthill Church in Canada. And then that is also sister to another church. Vicki and I were talking about, Brush Creek was like the home church, and then you had sister churches. So it wasn't like a child or, it was a sister church. So I thought that was interesting too. So that's kind of where we're at. And so we're going to take a look at the first church, actually was the Lawrenceville Church of God. That was not from 1856, but that is the present building now. If you guys have been over there, a fantastic facility. And they've done wonders over there, averaging probably, 80 to 100 or more? 100 on Sundays? 100, okay, awesome. And they've maintained that, so that's great. Came from a little schoolhouse church in the little town of Lawrenceville there, which is now home to Pastor Allen and Susan King, called the Abbey. And so if you guys went over and saw the Chouse over at Pleasant Hill, the old Lawrenceville Church of God is kind of done like that, but no slide.
Yes, so there is a slide.
There is a slide, but he has to put it up.
Yeah.
That's what I was told.
Yeah.
So
And it's plastic.
And it's plastic. Okay, so this one over there, did you go down it?
No, I didn't, but I thought what Alan did with the Lawrenceville Church was pretty impressive, but I don't think that anymore.
Right? Yeah.
No moose head.
That's on tape. I just want you to know. That's on camera. Yeah, so that's on camera. I have not been to the Abbey, so I don't know, but I've seen pictures. Yeah, just impressive. And I talked with the lady there today, and if you guys didn't get a chance to go over there, and I said I don't want to use the word possessed, but what possessed you to do this? And she said, since she was 14 years old and she had saw a house in West Milton that used to be a church and was converted, she's like, I always have wanted to do that. And so I think they did a fantastic job with that. But so the Lawrenceville Church of God, where in about 1972 they also met. There were several families that they decided that were coming from the northern Springfield area, and they decided to sister a church, and that's when North Hills became there. Lawrenceville has been very instrumental in the strength of our conference and camp, and a lot of other things throughout the years. So that's Lawrenceville Church of God. Anybody from Lawrenceville want to say anything about your church?
It's just awesome.
It's just awesome?
And the people.
Yeah, especially the pastor's your son.
But people just work so well together.
Let me give you the mic. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great facility. People work well together.
Does it?
That's my word.
It is.
It's right in your face.
You gotta turn it.
Oh.
I don't know, you might want to move forward a little bit.
Oh, anyway. Like I said, no, I didn't really want to talk.
All right, forget that.
Okay.
So, trying to think how long they've been there now. Has it been 10 years? Maybe about 10 years this location's been there. And they just have a number of things going on. They're very mission oriented. We have a good mission director, Jill Hedges, and it's just a lot of reach out into the community. We're not just there, come sit and listen. It's a lot of mission outreach that we continue to do, and a lot of teaching things going on, and just a really good facility. But also, I said, it's the people that make it out the church, and wonderful people.
I love the fact that you guys do the Night to Shine
Yeah.
as well, and that's been a big thing within the area. And I know that they serve it's called the Rainbow Table, the shelter, the food
Yes.
thing, through the week, and different things like that. So that's really cool. So, anybody else? Lawrenceville? Okay. All right, let's move on to the next church. which would be Brush Creek Church of God, 1859. We learned a little bit about Brush Creek last night. And the interesting thing was, and I don't know, Vicki, do you guys know the communion table, they said there was a building in Nashville, and it burned. And the only thing that was really saved from that church at the time was the communion table, the handmade communion table. Do you guys still have that?
Do you know about that? Is that the one that used to be in the basement? Dark colored one?
Probably is,
I
yeah.
think it's still there somewhere.
Okay, yeah, they said that was like the only thing that survived was what they were able to get. So a lot of their records to kind of really put a date on it. So it could have been that they were meeting before this time, but this is the first recorded date of that. So we have that, and then they moved. Then, of course, I told you, Mr. Curtis donated the land and the lumber to build the church. Donated, not to build the church, but to build a meeting hall, and then gave the land for a cemetery for them, which we now know as Curtis Cemetery, and many of our members throughout the Church of God who are from Brush Creek and other places are buried there as well. So, you guys want to talk about Brush Creek a little bit? Mark will give you a microphone.
Go for it, Jim. You've been there longer.
I don't know.
What do you want to know? What do you guys do?
We've rebuilt at least 2 times in my lifetime.
Okay.
I helped in 1953. We tore down the front. Used to go in here. You see right here where the big window is. That was the front of the church. We turned it around the other direction, put a baptistry in this end, and then I think in the 70s maybe we built this down here.
That was closer to the 80s because I was pregnant with Daniel.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm not a young man either. But we've seen a lot of changes, but our attendance isn't too good right at the time. I'm not very happy with that. The COVID didn't help us none either. And several of these things, I think they decide they can watch it on TV or their computers at home or something. We're hoping to revive things and get people back up there. But Brush Creek is, I can remember back, Dick Smith was one of the first preachers that I remember that left our church and went to preach full time. And many of the others, I just know of the others. I know Sid McGall when I was a kid. Not very old. Was the first one I could remember was our pastor. So, but I don't know a lot of things to tell you.
Yeah, but when I'm looking here at the pastors who have served there, a lot of names and a lot of instrumental within the entire general conference. You have Ethel Austin, James Patrick, S.E. McGall, Harvey Krogh Jr., Selene Randall, Francis Burnett, David Krogh, Leon Driscoll, Richard Worley, Michael Hoffman, and Dale Swartz. Big people within the conference and going to other states to also pastor. So that was really cool. I always remember going to Brush Creek as a kid too for special meetings and things like that, and going downstairs and having your cookies and whatever downstairs there. So when we were at the Chalice today at Pleasant Hill, it was the same thing. Going down, remember wrapping around the kitchen, but we'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, I was really interested too the fact that there was other congregations meeting at that church or at that building at the time, and then I guess it said no one held the title to the meeting hall, and then the church fell into kind of a state of disrepair. And said so in the late teens, some of the members of the Abrahamic faith wanted the meeting hall for their own church, and in 1923, legal petitions were published to seek that, and they gained the deed to that church, that building, to make it their church. So I thought that was pretty interesting. They didn't have like in Toledo where the flyers were put out. They didn't have people trying to sabotage them from getting the deed to that building. So there we go. All right, let's go on to the next church, which is Bedford Church of the Open Bible, 1952. Been there many times. A lot of people from the church there as well. Pastor, your dad, David Cheatwood, correct?
Yeah, Dave Cheatwood.
Dave Cheatwood was there. They didn't list it.
Austin Railton.
Pardon?
Austin Railton.
Austin Railton,
Cecil.
yes, yeah, which is Joyce Bullhouse's father, correct? Yes.
John Railton's dad.
Yeah, so it'd be Joyce Bullhouse's.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Railton, yeah, him
Yeah.
too. Yeah, okay. Nice little church. The interesting thing right now is that the area that the church is in, nobody around there is attending this. You guys are traveling 30, 45 minutes away, right?
Yeah, I'd say the average commute might almost be approaching an hour if you count the number of people who come from Canton as a quantity. I've drawn a little dots around all of the addresses, and we represent 5% of the area of Ohio. If you just, this is where we all live. Because we have people who come an hour from east, we come 40 minutes from the west. There are people who come an hour from the south. So we represent all of Northeast Ohio. We're the only church left like that. Period. So.
And I didn't include the churches that we have since closed. We had the Columbia Station Church, we had the Cleveland Golden Rule Church as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to both of those for Northeast Conference as a kid, and actually spending the night in Columbia Station in the sanctuary. That's where they housed us. And going to the Cleveland Golden Rule Church as well, for conferences, as a youth. We had big activities, and, it was usually a Friday through a Sunday kind of a thing. So, but yeah. Okay.
Did you want me to say anything?
Yeah, go ahead. What are you guys doing?
I don't know. You were asking that. Well, it's exciting to have. We had over the course of the last several months people popping in because they knew we had a Unitarian theology and they would show up. One of them I brought with me, James. That's James over there. He's been with us since around August, and it's been just so cool to meet some other extra people coming from the community. Not all of them have been consistent. They've come occasionally here and there, but they know we're here. They know that it's a safe place if they want to come and ask questions about theology. We enjoy that there. So it's good. There's actually quite a good number of kids there right now because of the Weavers and the extended families of all them. And then now James comes with his daughter. He has 2 daughters, and sometimes they're both there. And it's like kids running around. When you only have like 25 people there in the church, and a third of them are running past your feet, it's kind of cool. Yeah. Yeah, like what happened earlier. It's just amazing. So, but it's exciting that we're still plugging along. We just love that we can get together, and that's enough for us. We can still fellowship.
Okay. All right. I think Troyview is next, right?
Woo!
Troyview. Hey,
Right,
there we go.
Troyview.
Dan, the funny thing is like I don't have a picture of just like our building.
Huh.
I have like half here over here and then half over here. I don't just have a picture of our building. This was actually at our 60th anniversary of our church a couple years ago that we had this. And we were in 1959. We were meeting in the Girls Civic League, which is down on the corner of Water and Mulberry. They started meeting there after we left. Several families left Brush Creek. I believe the McGalls and Demets and Schmidlap, Carol Schmidlap, her family. I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. Newtons. Okay, and they came to be the kind of the nucleus of Troyview and started and kind of grew from there. We used to be out on the corner of 55 and Staunton Road, and the land was actually donated to us by Mr. Galbraith, and that was kind of neat to know that somebody had the passion for a church to be there and not just keep it. I'm not sure if it was farming. I don't know. Joyce is not here to ask. Was it a farm area where they plowing? I don't know. But I would imagine so because of the area that it's in.
They built other houses, and I think that lot he couldn't sell.
Oh, because it was
So
that
he
corner
donated
thing? Yeah. So he donated
One
it.
stipulation, that it be brick.
That'd be brick. Yeah, okay. I grew up going there. I told you last night that, my mom was pregnant with me when she was baptized, so I've been there that long. But growing up in the church and seeing other things added onto it and different things done with a back classroom and just the outreach. Bible school, I think, was one of our biggest things that we had. Rally Day and Bible school. We gained, many families from Bible school. Trudy is a Bible school person. Came with her and her daughter. They lived behind Billy and Diana Gallagher on Indiana Avenue. And they started coming for Bible school, and have been active members ever since.
Snyder,
And the Snyders, there you go.
not this Snyder, the other Snyder.
Oh yeah. Jenny started coming because of Crystal and Roxy. Jenny started coming and brought her mom and dad.
Which is my nieces.
Yeah, there you go. So, and then, you know, we got to the point where we couldn't really do anything with the church out there. So they purchased this building, which used to be a John Deere building, correct? They sold John Deere equipment in here, believe it or not. And they made it into a church. And we posted a few pictures last week you did of what it was like when they started. It was just a big open area, you know, up there. And then we're here now. And we are debt free.
Woo-hoo!
I know, but it's awesome. It's awesome to know that. So, you know, and we kind of have our ups and downs too. You know, COVID kind of took us, you know, a bit, but we also gained a family because of COVID. There are 4 girls, which you've seen here today running around. They actually stopped at our playground out there to play, and they came one Sunday, and we weren't doing the mask mandate, so they, you know, appreciated that, and they have been active ever since, and we're happy for them to be here. So, like I said, we've been our ups and downs, and if you're here tomorrow for church, once they call for junior church, over probably more than half the congregation leaves to go to junior church, believe it or not, on most given Sundays. You know, we thank God for Nikki and Joan who handle all of that. So that's kind of where we're at. Dan, you want to say anything?
I love Troy View. It's the best church I've ever been senior pastor at. By
It's
far.
the only
no,
church
bar
he's
none.
been senior pastor of, and we're going to keep it that way. It's like, you know, I'm not leaving Tiff City as postmaster, I'm not leaving Troy View as senior pastor. There you go.
When we were in the other,
Somebody else is clapping out there.
when we were in the other building, we were talking one night, and said, you know, look around. We have no kids. Where's our future? We had no kids at all.
And we come and go with the kids, and I'm sure every church is like that, because when I was growing up, we had 20, 30 kids in the youth group. And then it kind of dwindled down, and then when I was youth leader before, we had a really active, probably 15 to 16 kids, very active. And now I'm back again, and we got too many. But, you know, I think I was telling Julie, you know, I'm 55 years old. I don't know that I can keep doing youth any. I mean, I think I was lock-ins, right? Yeah, I think, yeah. Oh, yeah, Vicky's still doing it too, and Vicky's older than me, so yeah. So that's, yeah, you get Vicky and I. But I'm passionate about the kids and about working with them, and just, you know, sometimes seeing how their mind works. And it was really cool, Dan, last night, Isaac came up to me, and we've been doing this series called Feed the Dog in our high school Sunday, well, junior high school Sunday school class. And it's about Feed the Dog, and long story short, it's a guy's dad was in the military, and his job was just to feed the dog, because the dog was the one who was going to alert them if enemy was coming. And there were people who never fed the dog, and so the dogs did not like the people. So when it came, you know, when they were attacked, I mean, the dog didn't sound off or whatever, but this guy, his dad, he fed the dog became his friend, and, you know, it saved the guys in troop, whatever he was in, from getting attacked. And so we're talking about feed the dog, which is your spiritual self. And Isaac said, when you were talking about discipleship and everything, he's like, he's talking about feeding the spiritual dog, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's what it is, Isaac. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I like watching kids, like, they realize, you know, and so that's why I've been doing it as long as I've been doing it. But and I hope to see Troy View expand with Love Our City. That's what we're doing now. That's a series. And the whole roots thing came out of last year, going through Genesis and the roots, and just really looking back at Abraham and his lineage. And this is kind of where we're at now with the Abrahamic faith, going back there. All right, Troy View. Let's go on to Pleasant Hill Church of God, 1972. And that came from, they had some people meeting, I want to say, it wasn't Stein's, but it was, I'm sorry, these don't go in order of the way they were established. So they were meeting, a small group of them were meeting, and they decided to, Brush Creek decided to give people 11 members transferred to the Pleasant Hill Church of God. Vicki, do you know? Because that was in the 1970s. Do you know who those would have been? It was the Steins then? Your mom and dad? Okay. That was the year you were born?
I was born in 71.
71? Okay.
And
Vances? Yeah, okay. Let me find it here because I want to make sure I get this right. And these are, I think you can get these from the conference. If not, I know they're online. The Historical Waymarks of the Church of God, which is about the entire entire General Conference, and then as well as this one, which is the Northeast Conference history. It was John and Verna Stein, yeah. They were meeting in the home of John and Verna Stein in 1972, and then they decided that due to distance, which Pleasant Hill and Brush Creek, it really isn't that far, but due to distance, they wanted to go there. And you guys, the Pleasant Hill Church purchased that building from the Brethren Church, correct? Yeah. So $11,000. I paid more for my car.
And they sold it
And they sold
for
it.
50.
And they sold it for 50.
It was out.
Yes. Yeah. And there were, I've known, as far as pastors there, I've known Fred Pencil and Scott Dean. So you talk about longevity with pastors. Scott has been there for 35 years, roughly. Yeah, for 35 years. He went there in 86, I believe. Yeah, so do the math. I'm not a mathematician. But yeah, he's been there that long. So that's pretty cool for longevity. Again, Curtis Simpson was there, which he was also a pastor at Troyview in the beginning. And then S.O. Ross, David Cheatwood. Wait a minute. Yeah, guest pastors. Okay, that's who it was. Came and spoke, right?
They switched their time with Brush Creek, right? Like when they had Sunday school.
Yes.
So the pastors could come now.
Yes.
And it helped out when
Yeah.
like a pastor was sick or off,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
It helped Troyview when we went after Craig left, and because they had their church first, and then Sunday school, then whoever, I know Scott came a few times to speak at Troyview, and it was kind of cool. It's like, you're skipping your church today? No, we already had church. So it was kind of cool there. So Pleasant Hill? Anybody here from Pleasant Hill? Oh, Mark's going to talk.
No, I put my hand down.
Oh, okay. So if you did get a chance to go to the Chouse today, really cool. I mean, I grew up going to pot pie dinners, not pot pie dinners, but New Year's Eve where we had pot pie, and walking around the kitchen in line and playing games and, all that kind of fun stuff, and, going to youth activities there as well. Julie grew up in the church, so it was interesting to see. I never knew that front balcony was there. That was a wall. I never knew that was there. So that was kind of cool. So, and they have moved out a little farther, out of Pleasant Hill, south of Pleasant Hill, on down on, what is it?
Cox.
48?
It's on
Corner of Cox and
48.
48. Yeah, corner of Cox and 48. Also a nice facility. They have the nice open, kind of like we have the fellowship hall here and the classrooms around. And they have the land, so if they need to expand, and hopefully they will, to be able to expand. So. All right, the last one, North Hills Church of God, is also 1972. And this one also came from Lawrenceville as well. They decided to, they had a lot of people coming from the north part of Springfield, that there was the need up there to start a church. And so they did that as well. I remember Joe Duncan, I believe, was the pastor when they dedicated the building back in 1970. I was a kid. I think I was like 8 years old. Yeah, right around 8 years old. When they did that, I remember going over and the different people. Steve Fuel, I know, was there for a while. And then, of course, Seth Ross was there for, 30 years?
20.
20 years. Mm-hmm. Seth Ross was there. Longevity, Dan. Longevity.
I've been here 10 years. What do you want?
Another 10, 20.
Another 10 to
I'm just
50,
saying.
20.
Longevity.
I'm still only 25, so.
Okay. I'm just
Got a long way
telling
to
you. Longevity speaks volumes. Anyway, so Kyle McLean took over pastorate a couple years ago, right? Yeah. So I'm talking about North Hills. What do you guys got going on? Biggest thing I know is the car show.
Car show, yeah, it's big. We have a couple big community outreach events. Car show, our Easter egg hunt, and trunk or treat are usually pretty big as well. We are celebrating our 50th anniversary July 31st. We'll have a big weekend celebration then. So we're excited for that. We, in 2009, I believe it was, if you see the left half of the church there, that was an expansion in 2009. We just paid off the loan that the church took to build that this past November. So, yeah, best church I've been senior pastor at.
Nice.
Only church pastor at.
I believe Seth came in fresh out of college there.
And he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did. So,
Stayed about
longevity, Kyle.
Longevity.
Yep. Yeah. So there you go. And I think we've got that because you've got Alan at Larsville, and he's been there for quite a while. You've got Kyle, who's going to be there for quite a while. You know, his kids are going to graduate from Springfield schools and, you know, maybe go to Clark State or Ohio State. I'll root if they do, but Ohio State. I know you're Michigan State, so, yeah, okay. I'm Alabama. So, but, you know, then you got Scott, you know, 35 years. So long time for pastors. So that's kind of where we're at with the Church of God Northeast Conference. And, you know, I kind of wanted to do this, look at your history, because I grew up in the church and going to Northeast Conference and always looking forward to it. And especially when you went, you know, when we would go up to the Cleveland churches. And I had a friend from camp, Sharon Bradley, who was from the Columbia Station Church. And I always would stay at her house, and it was just a lot of fun. And then going up in, you know, to Font Hill and staying, you know, up there, you know, just the excitement for it. And how do we get that back? You know, and I know we're going to be talking more about where our conference as a whole, the general conference, is headed, but for the Northeast Conference, how do we get that stuff back? And I think sometimes it's looking back to our roots. And the fact that, you know, started out with the Lion guy who he felt his pulpit was too small. And he had a large church at the time because he felt that there were more people to know the coming kingdom of the Jesus Christ. And so he kind of, I don't want to call circuit riding preacher, but we know what that is. They go from town to town to town to town, you know, talking about these things, and, you know, you call revival meetings. I had to explain to someone, I had to run into work this morning, and like, what are you doing today? Well, I'm going to conference. What do you mean conference? You know, like a revival kind of a thing. You know, we don't call those anymore because, let's be honest, we're not reviving. So how do we get back to that? How do we get back to getting us to where we're lining up on the sides of the, you know, the sanctuary with chairs, or even in the overflow? How do we get to that? You know, and we got to make the gospel more real and not water it down. And, you know, it's all about, I can't, Cheryl, you're probably going to have to help me. You know, we got a rock star preacher. What's the song? I think it's Casting Crowns, that, you know, talks about a rock star preacher, and you know, the worship band is a paid band and everything else. And, you know, it's there for the show. When I was at the Bible college and I went through a worship class with Dale Ramsey, and we talked about the whole worship atmosphere and the fact that we're not the ones who are like in a theater. We're not the observers. We're the ones who are the actors. And so we're getting our prompts from the pastor, who then we go out and we perform. And so it's like you're taking your worship out to explain to other people that this is why I go to church, because this life in Jesus Christ, if I only have hope for right now, you know, as Corinthians, you know, says that then I have to be pitied more than men. You know, and so if we don't share that, if we just leave it sit with us, we're going to die. And I've been part of a dying church in Nebraska. And, you know, they didn't want to do anything throughout the week. And I was there ready to go. And they didn't want to do anything. And they just wanted to meet on Sundays. And that was pretty much it. And I left. It was a really sad taste because, you know, how did we lose it? You know, and I knew the pastors before me. I want to say Driscoll was out there. Leon was there. Yeah, at Holbrook. Yeah. You know, and what happened? Where did we lose that? And, you know, we have a truth. We have we have searched the scriptures. We know what the Bible says. We know these things, and but yet, are we sharing them? Are we sharing our hope that we have in Jesus Christ? You know, I get excited for camp every year because I get to go back and I get those feelings again. And sometimes it's hard throughout the year, but you know, when you go back to camp and you know, you get that feeling. Man, this is what it's all about, to just be in with a bunch of God's people and learning. And this is what, you know, I hope the kingdom will be like one day. You know, I look forward to that. And you know, so I challenge you: look at your history, look at where you came from, look at the longevity in your church. What are the names that are prevalent? We have them still. I look at my own family line, and my Uncle Roscoe started on an invitation to Rally Day from Dwayne and Joyce Dimmitt at the time. And then my parents came, and you know, aunts and uncles, and my grandmother, and here we are. And now we took a picture last Easter, I think it was, our entire family up front, and we were 40, probably about 40 people, and there were some of them who were not here, of my family that's in this church, and I think that's just fantastic. So look at your family within the church, and maybe in other churches, you know, throughout. You may have relatives here, and you may have relatives here who are part of the Church of God, but think of your longevity and think of your roots and where you've came from, and now where you're going to go. So I think it's important that we keep this going, the Church of God, of the Abrahamic faith, and that we have a truth to tell, that our hope is not just in this life, but our hope is in Jesus Christ and His soon return. So that's it. Thanks.
The song will start right here.
It's what?
Start right here.
Start right here? Yeah. All right.
Is there any questions or answers or anything anybody
Yeah,
wants to
could you
share?
do that again? I missed the first half.
It's recorded. It's recorded, so you can. It is recorded, Mike, so you can watch it online. There
You can
go.
like and
Thank you.
subscribe to Troy View's YouTube channel. And hit the button in the description.
And you will see
get
our
the
pastor throw
notification
things
bell.
during the service, and you will see him do all kinds of weird things.
It is what it is.
Yes, it is.
The next thing starts at 2 o'clock, but I might encourage you to come in a few minutes early, just to be going and getting ready to go. We're going to talk about.
We talk about general conference and the issue of relocation, which will probably generate some discussion. And I believe at the tail end of that, Bobby Partain.
He's running late from Indiana, be here about 4:30.
Okay.
So just you.
Then we have the whole hour, so 2 o'clock is fine. See you at 2 o'clock. Use the restroom, stretch, punch Dan.
Wait.
Was that recorded?
Back up.
Yes.
So this is what I do. I get to pick up.
How are you?